They say Section 8 is for poor people, lazy people, people who just want to mooch off the government and don't want to work, don't want to do anything. Just stay on government assistance, drink liquor, party, pop pills, and do drugs. Peace, family, peace, peace, peace. Okay, so this topic, okay, first off, I have been getting this download for me to do a video about Section 8, okay? And I am currently on Section 8. And I've been on Section 8 for, I want to say about 16 years. And I'm going to give you guys a backstory. So, when I got pregnant with my oldest son, who is now 20 years old, I had found out I had to get on welfare, okay? And if you watch my previous video of my apartment Section 8 tour, I'll leave it in the description. But I found out I had to get on government assistance, food stamps, and I was so upset because I knew the stigma that came with being on government assistance, and I never seen that for myself. In fact, when I was younger, I used to always say that I never have children, right? I think because I didn't want the responsibility, that was one. And then two, I wanted to move on my own, come and go on my own without, having responsibilities and, things of that nature. And so being the reason I had to get on government assistance was because when I was pregnant with my oldest son, I needed Medicaid, right? And at that time, I was 17 years old when I was pregnant with him, and I needed Medicaid. And my cousin told me, she was like, "Oh, you're gonna have to get on food stamps and stuff like that in order for them to deliver your baby without you having to pay the hospital bill." And so I was collecting Social Security, like survivor benefits, from my father. And then he had passed away when I was like 12 years old. My father passed away when I was, no, 13 years old while I was in the youth house and stuff. And from there, I was getting survivor benefits ever since I was like a little girl. And when I was like 16, I had a job. I was working at Family Dollar. Like, I never envisioned myself being on government assistance. And while being on government assistance, you have to use it to your advantage. But one of the things I'm going to say is you have to not have a poor mindset, right? You don't have to necessarily be poor financially. You could be poor, like, mindset wise. And one of the things that I pride myself on is me going to get it, right? Like, when I was on Section 8, like, I had jobs, not everybody that's on Section 8 is, on drugs. Not everybody that's on Section 8 is a pill popper or whatever it is that's a drunk. Is people that's on Section 8 that went to college. I went to college. I finished college. I got an associate degree in criminal justice, and then I went to a 4-year college to study psychology, right? So everybody that's on Section 8 is just not like, they just want to mooch off the government or whatever it is. It's some people that the Section 8 probably been passed down to them, or it's some people that been on Section 8, but they working to get off Section 8. And that's like my goal. One of the things I'm going to say is the pros and cons about Section 8. So the pros is that your rent is going to be based upon your income, meaning it'll be most likely low, right? Depending on your income. Because some people could pay $800 in rent, $900 in rent. It depends on your income. So that's one. And then two, another pro is you could get on your feet as you are on Section 8, right? The goal for me, it never was just to stay on there on Section 8. It's always been to do something different, to give my children more, right? I don't want my children growing up and like they take my voucher on and they keep Section 8. I don't want that. A lot of this mentality, it comes from programming, right? Like what we seen when we was children. And if you go back, like you can see that probably your grandma was on food stamps, your mama was on food stamps, and maybe you are the one that's supposed to break the generational curse, right? So you could become, the first millionaire. Never think that something is impossible because, you grew up a certain type of way. And so that's the pros. And then the cons is, you know, every year you got to do a research. Then the people come and inspect your home. You can't have nobody living with you other than the people that's on your voucher, which that one I kind of like. I kind of like that one. Also, another con is, the government is telling you pretty much like what to do. And then the third con is once you get on Section 8, right, and you've been getting government assistance, you may be afraid to get off of Section 8 because you done been getting so much help. Some people, they turn down certain things because they are afraid to get off of Section 8 because they've been on it for so long. And one of the things that I started doing was, that was like one of the fears of mine. Like, oh, once, my YouTube take off, and it's taking off now, by the way. But once I started being monetized on, different platforms and stuff like that, I know my rent. I'm just gonna buy a house. I'm just gonna buy a house, and I know Source is going to guide me along the way. And one of the things that we have to understand and realize that there is no security outside us. The security is within us. And if you look at it like that, you got to understand that through life, you're going to be good because any day, any given time, right, they could take your Section 8, right? And so, me, what I started doing, implementing was coming up with a budget plan, right? Because what I figured was if I could handle the small amounts of money, then I would be able to handle the big amounts of money. And that's how you got to look at your life. Sometimes you have to do things different than what you normally would have been doing, right? I know for me, prime example, I was into about budgeting, right? But sometimes in life, you have to demand what you want from life. You have to demand it because society isn't just going to necessarily give it to you. You got to demand it from yourself that you deserve more, that you're worthy, that you are enough. And no goal is ever too big, right? You also got to understand that you deserve more, right? You deserve more. And it is all according to what you are constantly telling yourself and putting into your subconscious mind. Like for me, I remember once upon a time, when I was working at a hardware store, and this like is scary. I was working at a hardware store, and I remember when I would come home from work, and I would be watching like Lifetime movies, like being consumed, programmed. My mind was being programmed even more. And I remember I used to feel like, like, damn, I want their house. Like, those houses are really, really nice. And I didn't think that I would be able to get it because the people in the movies, they was all predominantly white, right? And so I would be like, oh well, I'll never be able to get this, I'll never be able to afford that. I'm gonna give you about 5 ways to change from having a poor mindset. Okay, so one of the things I'm gonna say is you gotta connect to source. Whatever source is to you, you gotta connect to source. And you have to have faith. You have to believe in yourself. Number two is you have to start hanging around people that have the things that you want to have. The things that I'm not going to say want, I'm going to say that you're going to have. Okay, that's two. Three, you got to start dreaming big. Even if you just walk around and, go to luxury places just to see, certain things like luxury buildings, luxury apartments, condos. I remember when I was doing Uber, I used to love when I would go into luxury complexes because it it created something within my imagination. I started seeing like, oh, me and my family could live here. I could do this and, all these different things. For you gotta constantly reprogram yourself. Constantly affirm yourself. Constantly tell yourself that you worthy of it, that you can have it. Constantly, keep talking to yourself. Then five, listen to things that is going to motivate you. Listen to things that is going to uplift your spirit. Listen to things that is going to make you dream bigger. And if once you get on a certain frequency, because I talk about frequencies, once you get on a certain frequency, the things that you want is already on a frequency. So once you get on that frequency, you are able to attract it to you quicker because you are on that high vibrating frequency. And you gotta understand it's possible for you. You guys gonna see me in a few, I wanna say a few months, right? A few years, right? Buying my house. And never think like it can't happen for you. Constantly tell yourself it's happening for you. Constantly tell yourself that you are the generational curse breaker. Constantly tell yourself that you are the first millionaire. Let me tell you something. Just because there's no millionaires in your family, that does not mean that you're not going to be the first millionaire. Okay? Never look back at your family and be like, well, nobody in my family ever did this. Well, maybe you was created to do it. Maybe you was created to be the first millionaire of your family. Maybe you was created to be the first millionaire and then teach your family, the ones who want to become millionaires, right? Because I know sometimes in your family, you could try to tell them certain things, and sometimes people don't listen because it's coming from you, right? But just keep on going, keep believing in yourself, keep on telling yourself you worthy, and create a budget plan. That's one of the things, because if you could deal with the amounts when they small, right, you will surely be able to deal with the amounts when they become bigger, and they are going to become bigger. You got this. Security does not come from outside, honey. It comes from within. And if you was able to get on Section 8 and be on Section 8, the same exact thing you can do. You can buy your own house and live in your own house, and nobody's telling you what to do. And you could come and go as you please. Oh, and that's another con, because with Section 8, you're not supposed to you're not really supposed to like stay out, right? Like for months. Like if you go somewhere, you're not really supposed to stay out for months. I know somebody that's on like low income, and I remember when they had called the office of that facility, and they was like, what's the longest that they couldn't stay to visit their family member, and the person who runs their building was like, the longest you can stay is like 2 weeks. You can't stay more than 2 weeks. And to me, that's like, you don't want nobody telling you exactly, what to do, like when you could go and come. I mean, when you could, how long you can stay, and all those different things. So understand you have the ability and the power to get off. Understand that your life is going to be like grander. I'm grateful for being on Section 8 because I use it as a stepping stool, right? You use it as a tool. And then when you are sufficient, right? Like when you are self sufficient, then, you get off. And that's like one of the scariest things to me, but I know is doable. Is other women that I have watched, like successful women that are, either multimillionaire or they are making bank, okay? And one of the things you got to start understanding, if they can do it, you can do it. So I got all these different ideas, like when I'm off Section 8, when I'm leaning off Section 8 from my YouTube checks, okay? That I'm going to hire a financial advisor and allow them to guide me, because it's like, all these tools is in place for them to help us, right? Although your family probably never taught you it, that doesn't mean that, you know, that you don't have to learn it, right? And so I hope this video helps someone out there. And with that being said, I love you guys. Peace.